Good evening, everyone. I call this meeting of the Township of Union Planning Board to order. Sunshine notice, please.
Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Law, notice of this meeting stating the time and place was satisfied by the filing of an annual notice with the local source and the Star Ledger, newspapers of general circulation within the Township of Union, and posted on the bulletin board of the Township of Union Municipal Building.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Alexander?
Here.
Mr. Cohan?
Here.
Ms. Espinoza? Here. Mr. Frayne?
Here.
Mr. Miller?
Here.
Ms. Perkins? Mayor Frazier?
Here.
Committeewoman Terrell?
Here.
Ms. Khan?
Here.
Ms. Khalid?
Here.
Chairman Lay.
Here. Can we swear in the engineer?
Do you swear that the testimony you'll give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
First up on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the May 28th meeting. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Cohan. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Khalid. Roll call, please.
Mr. Alexander?
Yes.
Mr. Cohan?
Yes.
Ms. Espinoza?
Yes.
Mr. Frayne?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Frazier?
Abstain, I was not present.
Committeewoman Terrell? Ms. Khan? Ms. Khalid?
Yes.
Chairman Lay.
Yes. With no resolutions, we do have 3 items for new business. The first is the amended area in need redevelopment study for Block 2918. Can the representative please approach? Yes.
Hi. Is this on?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
You just got to speak into it.
Into it. Okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Jacqueline Fernandez, and I'm a planner with Colors Engineering and Design. I am a certified planner under the American Institute of Certified Planners, and I'm a licensed professional planner in the state of New Jersey. I've testified in front of boards. However, this is my first time in front of you all, so hello. Do I need to be sworn in, or am I okay? Yes, okay.
Raise your right hand. You swear the testimony you give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes. Okay, perfect. So I am here on behalf of the governing body to update and amend the area need a redevelopment study for block 2918. Technical difficulties. This may sound repetitive since this has been before the board in 2025, an earlier version in which it included 2 residential lots along Roosevelt Avenue. Through community input and deliberation, the governing body has decided to remove those 2 parcels to reduce the study area to 5 total lots with an area of just under 1 acre. This essentially, we reanalyzed these parcels. They continue to meet the criteria under the local redevelopment housing law. So this is just going to be a little refresher for the recollection of the board, but essentially, I keep on clicking the wrong button, I'm sorry. Essentially, these parcels are within the downtown core and downtown transition zones. A brief history, they've been developed since 1954. A few of the historical imagery shows development all the way up until 2025, in which this shows the existing present conditions that exist today. Now, the purpose of this study is to determine whether or not these parcels, under the criteria listed in the local redevelopment housing law, meet the criteria to determine if the parcels are an area in need of redevelopment. The criteria that were used, meaning that all these parcels either meet 1 or more of these criteria, are as follows. Criteria B, which is the discontinuance of a non-residential building for at least 2 consecutive years, or as it allowed to be fall into a state of disrepair. Criteria D, in which areas or buildings by reason of dilapidation, obsolete layout, or faulty arrangement and design are a detriment to the safety, health, morals, or welfare of the community. And finally, section 3, in which an area may not have land, buildings, or improvements which meet those criteria, but in total are necessary for an effective redevelopment of the area. So these are just examples of how all 5 parcels meet the criteria just listed. Lot 8 meets Section 3, in which there's no building, no improvements. However, it's necessary for the effective redevelopment of the site. Lot 9 falls under criteria D, in which there's excessive land coverage, which does not meet the requirement of the zones. It's vacant, and the current parking does not meet the safety and design standards that exist. Similarly, Lot 10 falls under D, just faulty arrangement and design, unsafe circulation, and again, it exceeds the permitted lot coverage for the zone. Lot 11 meets D and B, in which it has been vacant for an excess of 2 years. Similarly, lot coverage exceeds that of permitted and does not meet the safety or design standards. And finally, Lot 12, similarly, Section 3. It's just a parking lot, but for the effective redevelopment, it is necessary. And now all of these lots meeting those criteria means that it's detrimental to the welfare of the community as they exist today. Again, it is in the downtown core and downtown transition zone, and it just does not serve those purposes. Just to reiterate, this, you've seen this before, it was approved. This is just an update removing the 2 residential parcels, but the criteria are still met by these lots. They have not changed. Next steps, this is just the first of the process for redevelopment. The next step will be going into zoning and redevelopment plan, but this is just to designate the lots as they stand, and it is my professional opinion that they do meet the criteria in the land local redevelopment housing law. So I thank you, and if you have any questions for me, I'm willing to take.
Questions from the board? Questions from the public? Okay, hearing none. With that, oh. Sorry. I wasn't sure if someone was speaking in the mic. Okay. With that, can I get a motion to concur with the findings of the amended area need redevelopment study and refer back to the Township Committee for final adoption?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Cohan. Is there a second? Seconded by Ms. Khalid. Roll call, please.
Mr. Alexander?
Yes.
Mr. Cohan?
Yes.
Ms. Espinosa? Yes. Mr. Frayne?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Frazier?
Yes.
Committeewoman Terrell? Ms. Khan? Ms. Khalid? Chairman Lay?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. The next application is application 2026-03, Raising Cane's Restaurant. Can the representative please approach? Good evening.
Jennifer Kanarick from Price May Shulman and Dearman on behalf of the applicant Raising Cane's. Good to be here this evening. It's been a while since I've been before. I was before the zoning board a couple years back, but not planning board. It's been about 10 years. So I don't really know too many of your faces are too familiar to me, but happy to be here. I'm presenting the application this evening. Before I move forward, I just want to make sure that proper notice was effectuated, and Diane, I've received
I'm sorry?
you received our affidavits for.
Everything, yep, received
Everything's in
everything.
order?
Everything's in order. Yep.
Wonderful, thank you.
We might need you to speak into the mic a little bit closer, or we might need to adjust your feed a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. Is that better? I think it's
Perfect.
because I was turning like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I won't turn too much tonight. So Raising Cane's is proposing to demolish the existing buildings, which includes the former Union Diner as well as the 2-story masonry retail building, and is proposing a fast food restaurant with a 2-lane drive-through located at 2466 Route 22, also known as Block 3305, Lot 4. This use will consist of a 1-story, 3,350 square foot restaurant building with approximately 93 seats, 66 indoor seats, and 32 outdoor seats. 33 parking spaces with EV credits, 2 drive-through lanes, associated landscaping and signage, and an enclosure for trash and storage. The tract is located in the CC zone, known as your corridor commercial zone district, where a fast food restaurant with a drive-through is a conditionally permitted use. In this case, the applicant meets all the conditions of the conditional use standards, and per your board engineer's report, he has concurred with same. Overall, Raising Cane's proposed restaurant represents an upgrade and modernization of the site. So just to briefly go over the relief requested, I'll have my engineer go through it on the site plan, and also my planner provide the necessary proofs. We're looking for a preliminary and final site plan, conditional use approval. We're looking for several C variance relief within the corridor commercial zone. That includes minimum setback, landscaping, outdoor dining requirements, driveway loading, parking lot requirements, and signage as well. We're also requesting relief for certain design waivers, one of them relating to lighting intensity, as your board engineer mentioned in his report. I have 3 witnesses with me this evening. I have Ben Crowder from Bowler Engineering, who will provide more detailed description of the overall site plan and review any board professional comments. I have David Fahim of TPD, our traffic engineer, who will provide testimony as to traffic. Last but not least, I have Matt Flynn of John McDonough Associates, who will be providing the planning testimony. So the municipal reports, just some housekeeping items. We received board engineer's report dated April 8th. We received the Fire Prevention Bureau review, which is undated. And I confirmed with Diana that there's no other reports.
Yeah, you had received, whatever reports we had, you have.
Great, thank you very much. We also received comments from the DOT dated June 3rd, which our traffic engineer will summarize in his testimony. And if there's nothing else or any questions from the board, I can put up my first witness.
Okay, great. Would you like to call your first witness?
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Oh,
Let me know if I'm talking too fast.
all good.
Please state and spell your name for the record.
Is Ben Crowder. Last name is Crowder.
You swear the testimony you'll give today will be the truth, and the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Mr. Crowder, would you please provide the board with the benefit of your qualifications and experience for the record?
Sure. I am a principal branch manager at Bowler in our Ridgewood, New Jersey office. 17 years of site civil design experience, Bachelor's of Science in Civil Engineering from University of Pittsburgh, licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey as well as Pennsylvania and New York, and I've handled majority of the Raising Cane's applications in the state of New Jersey thus far.
Thank you, and your license is still in good standing, correct?
Yes.
Thank
Board
you very much.
stipulates.
Thank you.
Yep.
So what I'd like to do just quickly before we get into the proposed development, bear with me as I'm navigating this. I can mark this as an A1 for the record, aerial location exhibit prepared by my office with this evening's date of June 25th, 2026. So as you heard from Attorney Kanarik, we're about 1.17 acres in your CC or commercial corridor zone. On A1, north would be to your top, that subject site delineated with a thick yellow dashed line, centered on the plan. Currently your former Union Diner, which is about 4,700 square feet, and then there's a small inline retail Puff City shop on the eastern side of this site. Site's bound, we're sandwiched in between US 22, eastbound and westbound in both directions. Tube curb cuts there today, both on the northerly frontage and your southerly frontage. What I think the aerial does very well, there's a lot of existing nonconformities on this site, and you'll see while we do have some variance relief this evening for Raising Cane's, we are reducing a lot of those existing nonconformities, if not eliminating them in their entirety. And I think one of the things you can see on the aerial is the site is almost 100% impervious coverage. It's about 96.5% impervious coverage. As you're well aware, your CC zone permits only 80% coverage. So you'll see through a lot of the introduction of green space, landscaping, we're actually bringing that back into compliance with the Raising Cane's application. So what I'll move to now is the proposed condition when this loads. And what I can do, Mr. Chairman, I can mark this A2, site plan layout exhibit. It's been prepared by my office also with this evening's date of June 25th, 2026. Very similar for the board's reference. Top of A2 would be to the north. And this is a colorized version of sheet C301 that was submitted with our application package. But I've also colored it, dropped on all the proposed landscaping improvements, so you have a bird's eye view of the full build out of this Raising Cane's proposal. So to reorient you, top of the page would be westbound Route 22, bottom of the page, our southerly frontage would be eastbound Route 22. Our proposal is a 3,500 square foot Raising Cane's restaurant with dual drive-through operation. You'll see the approximate footprint of the Raising Cane's centered on A2 with a side canopy of covered outdoor seating. As you had heard from Attorney Kanarik, a total of 98 seats in this restaurant, 66 on the inside, 32 in this open air but covered outdoor patio area. Building's been positioned to basically eliminate a lot of the existing nonconformities that existed there today with the former Union Diner and that retail shop. However, due to the fact that we have dual frontages, we aren't able to accommodate the 52.75 that's required from 22 to the north. It's approximately 38.1 feet. And then the ordering canopy, which is really an accessory structure to the Raising Cane's primary use, is only about 9.2 feet away from that northerly frontage. But with respect to the side neighbors and your southbound frontage, or your southerly frontage to 22, fully in compliance there. A couple things with the canopies, largely because we have some variance relief associated with it. Your ordinance requires that canopies, which I think are more associated with, a canopy that might overhang a door, is that they can't exceed 1.5 feet by 8 feet in total width. This outdoor patio, which is technically a canopy off the eastern side of the building, is 23.5 feet wide by 42 feet, and that's to provide that outdoor feature to this restaurant location. Also, just some other dimensional things as I kind of batch some of these variances together is just the fact that our canopy for our ordering point it's supposed to be approximately 23.5 feet away, which is the height of the Raising Cane's restaurant. We're about 15.1 feet here with, based on the drive-through layout that we're proposing around the counterclockwise manner of the restaurant. So moving to parking and access. So parking really quickly, we're compliant to your code. We are providing 32 parking spaces physically on the site, whereas your code requires 21. That calculation is based on 1 parking space for every 60 square feet of public area within the actual restaurant itself. Running through those calculations, it's about 1,200 square feet within the existing, or within the proposed restaurant. That requires 21 spaces. We're proposing 32, but as you had heard from Attorney Kanarik, we actually have 33 from a zoning perspective because at this northwestern end of the site, we're providing the one state-mandated EV make-ready car charging space. So 21 required, 32 proposed, 33 from a zoning perspective. Relative to the parking, your code also requires a 10-foot parking space, 10-foot parking setback to any property lines, side lot lines. We're compliant around the entire site except this westerly corner here where we're 3.1 feet, providing a little bit more green space than that's there today. It's actually 0 feet under existing conditions, so we're pulling that back about 3.1 feet, but largely around the frontage, and I'll get through landscaping here shortly. We're compliant to that necessary setback. I think one of the highlighting things that you'll see on A2 here is the introduction of green space just by the nature of the colorized rendering that's here. As I had noted, it's about 96.5% impervious coverage existing today. Your ordinance only permits 80%. We're bringing that down all the way to 71.8%. So below the 80% threshold, that's really about 12,600 square feet of new green space, new landscaping, largely around the perimeter and between the drive-through and the physical restaurant itself. So a lot of added landscaping, green space being introduced through the redevelopment here. So move into access. I won't spend too much time and steal our traffic engineer's thunder because both the northerly frontage, our access point of 22 westbound, southerly frontage of 22 eastbound are under NJDOT jurisdiction. As you had heard, we do, through the modification of these driveways, actually trigger access permitting review. That application's in with the state. We just got back very positive comments in early June with regard to our layout and configuration that we actually had spent a lot of time with the DOT up front prior to fully engineering the site plan before you. But to quickly summarize, under existing conditions, westbound 22, there's 2 existing curb cuts. We're consolidating down to 1 proposed ingress-only driveway at the westerly side of that northerly frontage that will capture traffic heading westbound to get it into the Raising Cane's site. If you're on eastbound 22, we have a separate ingress driveway as well as an egress driveway at the easterly edge of that southerly frontage, and that's really capturing traffic on your eastbound direction. Some design waivers / variances associated with these driveways, largely because we're complying with DOT driveway standards, as they're not made of concrete aprons that extend 20 feet in width. We're also exceeding your requirement of 12 to 20 feet wide for a one-way drive, and that's largely to accommodate fire and emergency apparatus, truck and loading provisions, just to properly design these for one-way traffic really heading either in a westbound or eastbound direction. As we move into stormwater for the site, so the stormwater is technically a major development for NJDEP and township requirements. Submitted a stormwater report in full compliance with those regulations, but certainly largely aided by the fact of removing a ton of impervious coverage that's on the property today, getting it below your ordinance threshold of that 80% for impervious coverage. The restaurant itself, so I'm very familiar with Raising Cane's operations, having handled a lot of these already in New Jersey, but just some quick operational items relative to the restaurant. So proposed hours of operation are 9:30 a.m. to 1:30 a.m., and that's Sunday to Thursday. And then on a Friday and Saturday, it goes to 3:30 a.m. So an additional 2 hours on a Friday and Saturday. Cane's does like to remain open largely just to provide a eating option for first responders, change in shifts in a lot of the healthcare areas, just as an option for late night, early morning, however you want to interpret that. As far as loading, so loading, we actually have a variance because we don't have a designated loading berth or a designated loading space for the use, and that's largely because loading occurs when the restaurant is not open. This site will be serviced by a WB-40 tractor trailer. That's your your smallest tractor trailer on the road, which would ingress heading eastbound on 22 through the ingress driveway, and it would just simply sit in the drive aisle in front of the restaurant for that loading operation, which usually occurs 1 hour or 2 hours before the restaurant is open, 1 or 2 hours after it closes. And they do that as to not interrupt general business, and you don't have any pedestrian crew vehicular activity occurring on the site. So it's really during your early morning or late night hours that those deliveries occur 2 to 3 times a week. On the eastern side of the restaurant, you'll see a proposed 15 by 22 trash enclosure. So trash is just contracted with a local private hauler 3 to 5 times a week. That is just a scheduled pickup that is conducted during non-peak hours. As noted within your board engineer's report, we do need a variance because the trash enclosure composite wood fencing material is 10 feet high. We would request that variance over your 6-foot requirement just to properly screen the 8-foot cubic yard dumpsters that are contained within it. But largely, we did submit some enclosure details. A lot of that wood, composite wood, does work compatible with the actual architectural elements of the building. So it's not a chain link fence, and it's not something that you can see through. So it's fully screening trash and refuse on all 4 sides of that structure. So now let's talk about the drive-through because there's generally a lot of operational questions surrounding the drive-through. So during a non-peak hour, the drive-through is just going to operate as a single-lane drive-through. So you would approach and you would basically circulate around the restaurant in a counterclockwise manner on the near side lane or the lane closest to the building. and you go in a counterclockwise manner to the northern side of this site, where you have an ordering canopy and a menu ordering point. You place your order, you continue in that near side lane around to your pay window, which would be located at your northwestern corner of this building, and then proceed forward to your pickup window, which is at your southwestern corner of this building. This single lane can accommodate 13 vehicles before any type of vehicle gets out into any of the parking, drive aisle circulation. If staff and crew through camera and monitoring notice that this queue is starting to trek back a little bit to the entry point of the drive-through, what they'll actually do is they'll activate the second lane. So then you have 2 lanes that process to the ordering point, where you have 2 menu boards and 2 ordering points. After you order, though, the vehicles will then merge into a single lane, and they'll continue to process as a single pay and pickup operation on the near side of the restaurant. During a heavy dinner rush, maybe a weekday lunch period, what they'll do is just process both of these lanes through as drive-through lanes. So if you're in the inner lane, you stay in the inner lane. If you're in the outer lane, you stay in the outer lane. They shut off the menu boards, and they also have crew walking around on iPads to take your order, and then you process through to the pickup window, and that meal is brought out to your window from the kitchen. In total, 30 cars can stack if we were to utilize both lanes within this drive-through operation. You heard from our traffic engineer, one of the things we've been doing in New Jersey as restaurants continue to open is study those restaurants, certainly during their peak hour. And you're seeing after the honeymoon or grand opening phase, they're really settling down to about 15 cars during the peak hour. So we're more than able to accommodate double that, just based on studied operational periods. But I don't want to take Engineer Fahim's testimony, so I'll kind of end it on the queuing analysis. One thing about the ordering for Raising Cane's, if you've not been there, it is a focused menu. Where they say focus because there's 5 things that you can order: chicken fingers, Texas toast, crinkle cut fries, coleslaw, cane sauce. That's it. You don't have all these other options of grilled chicken, chicken on a sandwich. There's 5 things. And really what that does when they call it focus is it limits the time a customer arrives to the site and has to make a decision about what they're ordering. So it's allowing these, from the time of order to your pay and pickup, to be about 2.5 minutes. So they're moving cars a lot quicker through than maybe some of your other traditional chicken vendors in the market, some of your other QSRs, just because that menu is really your biggest decision is what side do I want, how many chicken fingers do I want today, and what do I want to drink. I mean, those are your big things. So that's also allowing the prep time to continue to roll because they know the average order size of a customer through the drive-through. Lighting, I'll touch on that very quickly. Lighting is all new LED parking lot area lights, 20 foot in height, compliant with your ordinance. The only waiver requesting is really the light trespass. You have a 0.5 foot candle requirement. We're proposing 3.7, and that's intentional at our driveways to DOT. Our side lot lines, any sensitive neighbor areas to the east and the west of us, we're good there. It's just beneficial light as a car is entering an active parking lot with a drive-through operation and parking spaces. Landscaping, briefly touched on it, but 1,100 new plantings. I like to tell boards, a lot of clients say just put on the plan what the code minimum is. For these Raising Cane's, it's kind of refreshing where they'll do more. It's a very robust landscape design. They do believe in kind of that first impression when you arrive on the site. The additional plantings not only along the frontages, but your experience within the drive-through relative to your car moving through that operation. Now we'll move to signage. Before I get into really some sign details, and I'll pull up our submitted architecturals because I think that gives you the best picture of what we're proposing, I just wanted to identify the location of the 2 freestanding signs. Technically, we're allowed 1 sign for 300 linear feet of frontage. We have that on the southerly facade, or southerly frontage. We don't have that on the northerly frontage. We have 230 feet. But due to the fact that our primary access is getting captured westbound and eastbound, thought it was advantageous to have an identification sign freestanding at both of our ingress points. So you have one just west of our ingress point from westbound 322, and then you have one in close proximity to our ingress point if you're heading eastbound on US 22. Signs are compliant with setback height, and they're just over the 50 square foot requirement. It's 50.74. I'll show you that as a minor technicality when I show you the detail. We're taking the extreme rectangular height and width of that sign. If you actually look at the Raising Cane's logo and cut that out, it's actually well below the 50 square feet, but a picture will probably show that a little bit better. So what I'll do next, I'll go to some images first, and then we'll go to the elevations because they look a lot better. All right, I don't believe I need to mark this. This is an exact copy of something that was submitted, Mr. Chairman, but I can if needed for the record. This is in our application package.
Part of the application?
Yes. Exact copy. Okay, so top left detail, this is the freestanding sign. So as you can see, the Raising Cane's 20 foot in height. We're taking your extreme dimensions left to right, top to bottom, and that's the 50.74. But if you actually kind of trace and carve around this, we're actually below the 50 square feet. So I just kind of wanted to confirm that minor piece. Raising Cane's logo. So as we get into the building signs, we're permitted to have 2 because we have 2 frontages. We technically have 7. I'll get into the elevations. A couple of these signs are actually painted murals on the building. They actually bring in a hired artist to paint these, a couple of these signs on the actual facade of the Raising Cane's restaurant. So we're treating all of these as signs, whether they're architectural features, painted murals, we're treating those all as part of what we're proposing for the 7 around these 4 signs, or around these 4 elevations. When we look at the elevations, each elevation complies from an area perspective with exception of the southerly elevation, which I'll show you very shortly, largely because of this Raising Cane's mural. So instead of staying on this, I'm going to go right to the elevations. So I think this tells a better story. Okay, I won't mark this as well. This was also submitted with the application just for clarity. So top elevation would be your front entry elevation. So this would be your southerly elevation of the Raising Cane's restaurant. So if I was traveling eastbound on 22 and I look north into the site, this would be my main principal elevation of the building. What you'll see is a Raising Cane's logo that's 30.75. That's common across all 4 elevations of the building. And then I had talked about one of the elements that's actually painted. So we call this the One Love mural. One Love in Cane's terminology is the chicken finger meal. That's part of their branding into the industry. But as you'll see on this detail, this is actually painted. It's 139.5 square feet on this facade, which is our facade that exceeds the area. They do brand and bring in a little bit of a locational element on here, and you'll see this, it says Union on it, and that's amongst all the other restaurants open in the United States. They like to bring the local town into the mural. It's got a social media presence. You do have a lot of individuals that go around restaurant to restaurant taking pictures of the murals at each of the Raising Cane's restaurants that they've been to. So it brings in the Union locale relative to the mural. A couple other things just to identify, just relative to the architecture. Our architect is here if I can't factually answer anything, but you'll see this one tower. This is an architectural element built into the facade, made of reclaimed car hoods. So that's just another element of bringing in that one, again, related to the One Love, the chicken finger meal for Raising Cane's. Lastly, we have 2 variances because canopy signs are not prohibited and not permitted, but we are proposing 20-inch channel letters above that outdoor seating area for One Love, internally illuminated, but you'll see those above that outdoor patio area on this southerly elevation. As we move to the side, this first side elevation on the architectural elevations would be your easterly elevation. So you can kind of see a little bit of the breakdown of this outdoor patio seating area. We've got the Raising Cane's logo at 30.75 square feet immediately above that. And then you have what we call the Red Dog mural. It's an aluminum substrate that just hangs basically on, they kind of look like two shower rods. But it's aluminum in nature, some accent lighting up onto that sign. Kane, just for reference, Kane is Todd Graves, who's the CEO president's dog. So he's up to Kane 3. It's a Labrador Retriever. That's why you see a Labrador Retriever with a Raising Cane's bandana around its neck. As you move to the rear elevation, so your rear elevation is going to be your westerly elevation of the site, where, again, you have the architectural one incorporated into the architectural design of the building, and you have that same Raising Cane's logo as through the other three elevations. Then as you get to the drive-through, so your drive-through will be your northerly elevation. This is what you would see if you're westbound 22, passing the site, looking south. You can see just a little bit more detail of your pay window. And as you continue forward, it's your pickup window. This also converts to a sliding door during some of those peak hours where you may have crew coming in and out with the meals to bring it from the kitchen to your window. And also on this elevation is where we have another painted element. It's called the drive-through flame. It's just an architectural painted feature on that elevation. So all in all, that kind of captures the sign package of the 7 versus the 2. I talked a little bit about the variances on the area. Technically, these signs need to be 10 foot above the ground. However, given some of the pedestrian nature, the outdoor seating, entrances on multiple sides, these are down as low as 3 foot 7 inches from the ground surface. And then technically, just so I hit everything, the max vertical dimension of a secondary sign can't exceed 5 feet in height. This Red Dog mural is 8 feet. And if I go back up to the One Love painted mural, this is 9 feet in total height there on that principal elevation of the building. That's really most of my testimony. Just some updates on outside agencies, which I know we have to secure with the project as well. We have Soil Conservation District approval from Somerset Union already, county exemption, and then you'll hear further testimony from our traffic engineer relative to DOT, just given the nature of their jurisdiction for our frontages.
Just a few follow-ups, Mr. Chairman. Forgive me if you mentioned this, but the number of employees and shifts?
Yeah, so typical shift is 8 to 12. Your max employee shift is 12 to 15. And that's a combination of hourly and salary.
And Kane's typically hires locally?
Yes.
And just so the board is aware, what are the closest open or soon-to-be open Kane's?
So if approved, this would be the second location in Union County. There's one under construction in Linden, New Jersey right now, but I would say probably the closest open is probably Edison, New Jersey. They're slowly making their way up. They have an open location in Fairfield, but I think Edison would be closer.
And the total locations overall throughout the country?
I always ask this before I get in front of the board. It's 1,024 as of yesterday.
And counting.
In the United States, and counting fast.
I have nothing further, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Only other item is if the board engineer wants to go through his report, but I think Ben, you
Oh, I
touched
can
upon.
certainly note for the record, I've gone through the report. We have no issues complying with anything within it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Questions from the board?
I have a question.
Just make
I have
sure your mic is on. Yep.
Just one question. If you go inside that restaurant to buy, how do you get out? Do you have to go through the drive-through and make the line to get out, or is there a through lane?
So if you just wanted to park and go in?
Right.
Yeah,
Do you have
so-
to make the line if it's like too long?
you would not need to. Our only egress point, though, is back to 22 eastbound, and you'd have to continue to head eastbound and then loop back around if you're looking to go westbound again.
Okay, because I don't see a lane outside of the drive-through.
Oh,
I don't see like a passing lane, parking lot coming out.
Yeah, it's a little hard to see. I could probably blow it up a little bit for you. So it's a two-way drive aisle, but mostly it's going to be functioning in a one-way direction just because cars are coming in from westbound and turning left. They're coming in eastbound and turning in The idea is you could either go straight through these drive-through lanes or this additional arrows directing traffic out back to 22.
What about overflow from the drive-through?
So right now, we've designed it to have a capacity of 30
Okay.
cars, which from our study locations, honeymoon aside, right, when a restaurant opens, grand opening, Canes likes to work with local police, traffic control plan if it were to get outside the 30. But 30 is a pretty good number relative to the locations that have been studied that are suggesting about 15.
So we wouldn't have any issues with an emergency vehicle going through, of any emergencies coming in and out? through the
No,
drive-through?
we've completed fire circulation templates, everything through here.
Okay.
And we did receive their letter. There's a few comments more specific to the building itself, but that was adequate.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. So let's say you're in the drive-through lane, you pass the exit, and you're a little further up, and you decide you no longer want chicken. There is no passing lane.
Well, I would say during most business hours, it's only going to operate as a single lane drive-through operation. So if you wanted to bail out, you would have the outer lane to get through.
But let's say the 2 lanes are full. They are using it.
Well, it would,
Are
it would-
you going to close 1 lane, is what you're saying?
Well, yes, 1 lane is closed during the normal business hours. It just functions on the near side drive-through operation only. So
From-
that the whole outer lane remains open.
So when does that second lane open for drive-through?
Once they notice that the queuing from the ordering canopy is starting to get back to where, on this plan, where the trash enclosure drive-through starts, they'll open the second lane as a second lane to order. But after you order, it merges back to 1 lane. So this outer lane around the balance of this area is free and clear. There's no cars there. The only time they use that is during a peak lunch or dinner rush, where you might see both lanes operating all the way through.
Committee one?
Yes. So my question is with regard to parking. Did you say you had 21 parking spaces?
21 are required. We have 32.
So you have 32. So if you have 15 people working and they all have a car, then you only have 15 parking spaces. Is that sufficient?
Yeah, and our traffic engineer, that's another thing that we study as well, is just parking accumulation. Certainly the drive-through operation is a majority of the business. Upwards of 70 to 80% of the volume of the restaurant will actually move through the drive-through. But we also are studying, occupancy of parking to make sure where, Canes is really pushing kind of in that 25 to 35 parking space realm.
And to get from the parking spaces to the restaurant, they're going to cross, if people are in the drive-through, right? They intersect at some point, right?
Yeah, all of we intentionally tried to isolate. We don't like to really blend the drive-through operation where you'd have, a customer walking across a drive-through lane. So all of our parking is really situated on the southerly side here of the restaurant, where your drive-through is your east and north. So you're not going to have that interaction in the drive-through. And then we've provided some sidewalks, some crosswalks, just to get to your main building entrance, which is on the southern side of this restaurant, proximate to the parking.
But it looks like as they're coming around the drive-through, as they're exiting, is that exiting over the crosswalk?
Yeah, it's going to be stop controlled at this drive-through exit. We've got it signed, striped, we've got clear sight lines, and then we've got the crosswalks clearly designated there for any type of pedestrian activity if you happen to be parking, call it on the western side of the lot.
And you said you're open until 3:30 on the weekend?
3:30 on Friday and Saturday. And
You
then
serve alcohol?
No.
And are most of your restaurants open until 3:30?
Yes.
And you have business churning through
Yep.
that late?
We
that early?
Raising Cane's likes to request, in front of the board to be open to 1:30 and 3:30 accordingly. If the business isn't needed in that, they'll often fluctuate hours, but they like the flexibility to 3:30.
Okay. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Ms. Coward?
In regards to the drive-through, do you have an app where your customers can order and employees come out to drop off?
It's great that you asked that because I forgot to talk about it. There are 3, I'm kind of hovering on them on A2, mobile order pickup spaces. Yeah, so app, park, hey, I'm here, associate sees them, brings it out. If I'm on A2, I am, if you can kind of see my cursor, it's the first 3 parking spaces on the northerly side of the access drive.
Ms. Keller?
So if you could just walk me through this. Let's say I'm looking at those 3 spaces. Also, where is the electrical for the electric car?
The electrical vehicle car charging spaces all the way
Oh,
to
at
the
end.
left.
Okay. So let's say I'm there. I have to go past the west side coming in, the drive-throughs, stand online, and then I can get out
If you're in a car,
if I'm in a car.
so if you were parked in the EV space,
If I'm
just to
parked in the
say-
EV space.
Okay.
Because I have an EV.
Oh, perfect. You would back out, and then this is a 2-way drive aisle, so you would just continue to head east.
But you're getting, it's 2 ways, but the one way that it's the exit gets flow, you have flow from the west side coming into to the restaurant, and you have flow from possibly 2 lanes coming in the same direction, all of which are going all in the same direction. So you might have to wait to exit.
So while it's marked as 2-way, particularly in front of the restaurant, I don't see a lot of cars going back.
No, but it's
This-
still only one way, and you have 3 possibly with that extra 4th. Because I'm the EV, I'm being the 4th,
You're being the 4th. You're
right?
gonna,
Because I have the west side, I have the 2 drive-throughs, that's 3, and then I'm the EV being the 4th
Coming from the parking space.
from the parking space.
you're gonna have the right of way to continue all the way across.
But if we have people that are waiting online
In the drive-through.
in your queue area,
Oh, well, the queue is not going to be coming out past call it the dark gray area.
Like right here.
When I mentioned the 30 cars are entirely contained, call it in this dark gray area. We're not anticipating any cars to come back beyond that, which would interrupt typical parking flow for someone that wanted to park and go in and order.
okay, but I still have the two that are letting the west side, so there's still some type of
Oops, sorry about that.
bottleneck there.
I'm not sure I follow, but if you could describe it a little more
So-
for me.
Because I'm the EV, I have only one way out, and that's all the way
To the bottom right.
to the bottom right. So for me to get there, I mean, I'm talking about your busy season, right? Because my daughter follows you and she goes to different canes. So we've been to the one in Burlington, County and things like that. So yes, I know
Yeah.
the signage and all that. That being said, I know how packed it can get. And if I'm the EV and I have people coming in, because you're going to get that, especially in that honeymoon period, and Union 22, we have a lot of people that are coming in and a lot of flow, which is great. But they're coming in from both sides. So they're going to be coming in from the east, they're going to be coming from the west. My EV spot is all the way over there. It just seems a little like,
Well, a couple
rough.
things we've done, and I think I'm maybe following you a little bit more at this point. We did provide a striped space down here in the bottom. So in the event that someone comes in off of 22, decides to turn right to find a parking space on the north, they're all taken. There's at least a space for them to pull into and then turn around. If you're parked in the EV, I see you backing out down into this drive aisle, making a right. If you're kind of following my cursor, there's a stop bar here because they have right of way coming in from DOT. Then you'll proceed and just stay on this right hand side all the way till you get to the egress path only. Everyone coming in from 22 is stopped, And then as the drive-through is operating, those driveways are also stopped. So you're the one with the right-of-way trying to leave the site, even if you're at the furthest space all the way to the left in the EV. Did that help clarify? Or I'm still off?
No, no,
Okay.
that helps.
Okay,
That helps.
okay.
I have another question. Why is there only one exit? So there's two entrances, but only one exit. Why is that?
This came down a lot with the DOT. We spent a lot of time, numerous concepts, as I kind of mentioned, under existing conditions. Tube curb cuts, if you're heading westbound into that site. There's tube curb cuts if you're heading eastbound into that site. Because we didn't want the drive-through operation to interact with any type of parking for the concern that was raised earlier of people crossing drive-through lanes, we wanted to capture the traffic certainly in both directions, so you didn't have to keep going around and the jug handles in between 22, and then just concentrating just one egress point. There wasn't really a mechanism to get people back to westbound 22, because as soon as you exit here, you're going down just a little bit, and you got your first opportunity to loop back around. And DOT saw that as a positive, where we're consolidating 4 driveways into, call it 3, for each of the frontages.
And the canopy has the sign. How high is that again?
The canopy,
Yeah. Because the canopy's up there, and then with the sign, what was that?
your canopy is, I will zoom in, let's get you a dimension, is 12 foot, let me go over to this one, 12 foot 2 to the bottom of the canopy, and then you got your structural member, and then you've got 20-inch letters on top there.
Thank you.
Any further questions from the board? I just had one quick question. You touch base on the 10 feet height on the enclosure. Can you explain again why 10 feet and why above what's specified in the ordinance?
So there's a couple cubic yard, there are 8 cubic yard receptacles in there, but there's also a compactor in there, and just to appropriately screen that, they bring the fence line up to the 10 feet.
Okay.
So you've got full screening, all 4 sides, you can't see through it, and it's really only opened for, the haulers' use.
And then just another quick question. Wherever on the, you have a couple of places where you do have stop signs or stop marks and do not enters. Are there also signs that accompany them?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So there's all these little tags on here. They're tagging different pedestrian crossing signs, advance warning signs, but all the pavement markings are accommodated with a sign as well.
Got it. And then just one last question. When the nearest drive-through lane is filled to capacity, is the indicator to utilize the second drive-through through a worker that is navigating the traffic, or is there some kind of other indicator or signage or lightage?
It's through a crew member
Okay.
monitoring the flow and
Okay.
how much it's backing up, and it'll become a custom during as you start approaching lunch and dinner rush, things like that, where you have to activate that second lane.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions from the board?
Yeah, I just have one other question. Is the indoor dining also open until 3:30, or is it just the drive-through open? So indoors open until 3:30 as well? Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I got a question. Ben, thank you for clear, concise testimony. I appreciate that. I think it cleared up a lot of things for the board members. One thing that I think is still a little excessive on this site is the signage, right? I think that I know we've had a few other, in particular, chicken applications in here where we beat up some folks for, I think some have painted on the wall, and we had chickens, we had flags, we had you name it, what we've had there. And one of the things that we attempt to do is remove some of the sign pollution. So although I feel like maybe you have a strong argument to have 2 freestanding signs because you're just short of the frontage on the one side, and that may be an important identifier. Some of the stuff on the wall to me is excessive, right? And I don't want to seem like I'm anti-dog or anything like that, but we have stuff like that, and then we put, the One Love sign seems to me to be excessive on the canopy when you have it already on that same side elevation. So what I'd ask, and as long as the board members concur with this, if you go back to the folks at Raising Cane's and say, what can you do to reduce some of the signage? Because what we try to do is make sure you have enough signage to be functional, but not to be excessive.
Yeah,
So
understood.
if that makes sense.
It does.
There's somewhere between, we want to be reasonable so people know exactly where they are, because you have to see that entrance. You want to be a little bit ahead of it, and 22 can get a little confusing. But some of the stuff on the wall, I think, and the canopy could be eliminated without affecting their business.
Yeah.
So, I want
Yeah, if something the board would consider, I mean, maybe we can let our traffic engineer put his testimony on, and I can just take a quick recess and come back up on that
Great.
front.
Thank you.
That's fine. Any further questions from the board? A question from the public. I did see a gentleman. If you can come up just to the mic, identify yourself, address, and then just pose your question or questions. Oh, the other mic right there.
Good evening,
Good
Board
evening.
of Union. It's nice to be here. My name is James Nasty. I'm the adjacent business east of the Raising Cane property. Over all the years...
Can you speak into
what?
the mic a little closer?
Thank you. Is
So we
that
can hear you.
better?
Yep, perfect.
Okay. Over all the years, I've been there since 1971. My parents, prior to that, 1954. At all times, Peter, Nick, everyone, we've had a very harmonious relation as neighbors, and that stemmed from not blocking each other. My only concern, first of all, this is a grand presentation. It's beautiful. I'm 100% for it. I am not for trees. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 trees. You want to keep the other trees more towards the west, that's okay with me. I cannot allow my DXL Plaza tenant, who's been with me under 3 different names starting from 1987, to have all their building signage blocked by trees, because these trees grow. If you look at the ugly dumpling going up in Springfield, I spoke to the contractor there. What happens with trees is trees grow. They can grow up to 40, 50 feet. My building will be history. It's going to be unrentable. My concern is if you could change those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 trees to just shrubs like Peter and Nick have always had. We've always had this harmonious relation, and it's been that, what, Nick? It's been probably 55 years I've been there. So that's all I ask. And I wish you all well. I hope you prosper well. It's a beautiful presentation. I would be 100%. If Raising Cane can make that fair, it's like, I don't know if those are trees, but they look like round circles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because, and I'll give my reason for this. Being on 22 for all these years, while you're driving to reach your property and the next property, that is the DXL Plaza, you only have a few moments to make a decision to want to enter. Now, when you have tall trees and people are looking, they're seeing the building even ahead of your building, and when people approached, as they're getting to Red Lobster, to the Men's Warehouse, they're going to be looking for your building. Those trees can really cause an issue. I'm asking to please consider just, I'm all for how you landscape, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's it. No trees there, and I'm happy.
Fully amendable to shifting those 5 locations. away from
Thank you.
interrupting your building. We'll either change them to something more like columnar so they don't grow really tall, or we'll just reposition them out of those sight lines.
I would want to be assured that you're not putting any kind of tree there, because trees over 10 years, 20, these things could take off and go, you know, to be tremendous block. If you could keep it just your natural shrubs, like Nikki always had and Pete, you have a very happy and
We can
harmonious
100%
neighbor.
agree to that, and it's not a problem at all.
Thank you, Board of Union.
Thank you, sir. Any further questions from the public? All right. Would you like to call your next witness? Yeah.
My next witness is Mr. David Rahim from TPD, who will be presenting traffic testimony this evening. I do not, just for the record, we did not, David, this is the same traffic that we submitted, correct? It's dated? January 8th. Correct. Yes. So we do not need to mark this in if it was submitted previously?
Please raise your right hand. Please state and spell your name for the record.
David Fahim, spelled F as in Frank, A-H-I-M as in Mary, and I am a project manager at Traffic Planning and Design. I've been a licensed engineer for about 5 years now.
Before you go there,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Let me, before.
Back of the hand up,
All
yeah.
right. Do you swear the testimony you'll give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right.
And if you can pull the
Make
mic
sure
up a
you
little
get
bit
to
so we
talk.
can
Yeah.
hear you. Yeah. You have to speak up.
right.
Speak into it. Yeah. Okay.
You got it.
Thank you, sir.
No problem.
Mr. Fahim, would you please provide the board with the benefit of your qualifications and experience for the record?
Yes, I've been a licensed professional engineer in the subject matter of traffic for roughly 5 years or so. I graduated from Rutgers University with a degree in civil and environmental engineering, as well as Stockton University and a degree in mathematics. I'm a project manager at Traffic Planning and Design. Testified in front of numerous boards and across the state of New Jersey as a traffic expert, but this is my first time here.
And your license is still in good standing, correct?
It is. It is.
You may
Board
proceed.
stipulates.
You may proceed. Hey, you never know.
So I can just go into it? All right, cool. So, like I mentioned before, we prepared a traffic report dated January 8th, 2026. That traffic report is broken out into a few different components. One is understanding trip generation in and out of the site. We also go into a little bit of the parking as well as the drive-through queuing, kind of what Ben touched on a little bit earlier today. So I'll start with the first component of our traffic report is really understanding trip generation for the existing property that's there today, as if it were reoccupied, and then comparing that to what we're proposing. So trip generation projections, our office prepared them using the NJDOT's Highway Access Permit System calculator, which essentially just utilizes the industry standard trip generation rates and equations outlined in the Institute of Transportation Engineers trip generation manual. So what we essentially do is we look at the building areas, and we're able to utilize either rates or equations to determine, based on the size of a particular development and whatever type of land use it is, we can project out, based on research all throughout the country, of what kind of traffic we would expect to go in and out of a site. So our office utilized that information for the existing development and compared it to the proposed Raising Cane's. Based on the NJDOT standards, which are a lot more strict, we found that we generate less than 100 additional peak hour trips, which NJDOT defines 100 or more trips to be a significant increase in traffic. So because of the fact that we're less than the 100 trips additional to what's at the site today, this type of project really would qualify for what DOT would consider a letter of no interest. So essentially them stating that it's not really a significant impact to the adjacent roadway network along Route 22. But because DOT had a lot of concerns with really the design and the safety along Route 22, we had to provide some kind of access modifications to the site, which is why our office is moving forward with a major access permit with the DOT. So because we're moving forward with a major access permit, and because we're normally not what DOT would consider a significant increase in traffic, to be conservative, we still wanted to collect actual traffic data and analyze it and make sure that the proposed development would not be a significant impact to the traveling public along Route 22. So that's exactly what our office did. We collected data at Route 22 and Springfield Road, Route 22 and the U-turn ramps on the eastern side and the western side of the property line, along with the Route 22 site driveways. So our office collected that data during a typical weekday. We did it on Wednesday, November 5th, from 11 to 2 and from 4 to 7 p.m. And we also did it on Saturday, November 8th, from 11 to 2 p.m. So we collected that data, and really what we do as traffic engineers when we analyze something, we want to analyze a worst case scenario. So we find what the peak hour is, so the most traffic along both Route 22 and the site, and use that for our evaluation, and that's what we considered in our report. So ultimately, as part of our findings, what we like to do is try to evaluate a future condition, because you don't want to evaluate what the volumes are existing today, because traffic grows, population grows. So as part of our report, normally for a urban major collector within Union County, we utilize a 2.75% growth rate. But to account for any kind of upcoming developments that maybe we're not privy to, we grew it at 3% over a 2-year span to try to develop a 2027 future condition. So as part of that, we found that the levels of service were pretty consistent between the future condition without the project and the future condition with the project. Really, we would just see a difference in vehicle queuing. The only ones that would really be notable is the southbound Springfield Road stop sign trying to go westbound Route 22. We found that we would add about 1 additional vehicle to that queue, and the site driveway would operate with about 4 vehicles in queue as the maximum queue observed from our analysis. So relatively minor in terms of impact on the adjacent roadway network, and consistent with what NJDOT would define as what a significant increase in traffic would be. We really don't expect too much additional impact along Route 22 as part of this when compared to the existing roadway, or compared to the existing land use. Another thing that we included in our report was drive-through queues. So again, Ben touched on this a little bit earlier today. The drive-through can accommodate 30 vehicles within that dark gray area here. Let me try to, there we go. So all within that dark gray area, you can accommodate 30 vehicles in that area during the times of the busiest and peak congestion. Our office collected drive-through queuing data at 4 existing Raising Cane's locations in the state of New Jersey. We actually found a maximum queue at any point in time of only 13 vehicles within the drive-through. So what we're proposing can more than accommodate what we expect for the drive-through demand. And finally, in terms of parking, our office looked at the number of parking stalls being proposed and compared that to what a typical Raising Cane's would generate in terms of parking and dining in customers. We know that 75 to 80% of their site is drive-through, typically goes to the drive-through, so not too many vehicles park to begin with. So we found that based on our review of the existing Raising Cane's locations, the proposed parking demand would also be able to be satisfied within the subject property.
Okay, thank you. I just have one follow-up question relative to Ms. Khalid, is that how you pronounce? Concern about the EV's position, the parking space. Can you just touch upon your opinion on that and the location?
Specifically the EV parking space?
Yeah, and then the maneuvering. She had a concern about that. Is it in your opinion, do you see an issue with that location?
No, I don't. Pretty much Ben touched on this earlier. So you pretty much have the right of way along that main drive aisle. The only time that you don't is when you'd have to yield or stop to any oncoming traffic that's trying to make the left in off of Route 22 eastbound. And then if there are any potential pedestrians at this crossing area, you would yield to those pedestrians. But other than that, you would have the right of way to clear out and make your way to the exit and get onto Route 22.
Okay, thank you. I don't have anything further of this witness.
Questions from the board? Mr. Cohan?
Yes.
So I have several questions. Lived in this town for a long time. Route 22 is a nightmare. Always was, always will be.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that you did your study to collect data.
Yes.
At peak hours.
Mike, speak up, please.
And I guess it's peak hours relative to the...
I need him to speak up.
Peak hours relative to the operation of the restaurant.
to Route 22 as well. We wanted to find the maximum volume between both Route 22 and the proposed restaurant, and that's what we analyzed.
Okay, I mean, there are times that in that section of Route 22, westbound is stopped,
Understood, yeah.
incredibly heavy.
That was considered in our analysis. We
And
observed that.
I guess the one curb cut for ingress will help with that.
For egress, you mean?
Yeah, for ingress. But the eastbound section of Route 22 in that area is typically traveling at the speed limit. So, and I guess maybe this is a question that would go back to Mr. Crowder. I could redirect to him a little later. If you are at the peak operation time of the restaurant, where you may have 13 to 30 cars in the drive-through queue and a number of other people doing walk-in, you could have a number of cars queued up to exit.
Yeah, we were estimating anywhere between 3 to 4 during the busiest peak period.
Even though you might have, it might take a few minutes for the first car to be able to exit. What happens if they start to stack up?
Well, that was considered in our analysis. So that was something we looked at, is we look at the 95th percentile queue of any exiting movements or any stop-controlled movements. So what our analysis showed is based on the volume along Route 22. Like, sure, there will be courtesy gaps, especially when you're talking about like the peak periods, and Route 22 is essentially a parking lot. But during the times of when traffic is at least flowing a little bit, there are enough gaps in the roadway stream based on our assessment of the roadway conditions that it was able to see a queue of about 3 to 4 vehicles during the busiest peak hours.
Okay. And then the only other question I have relative to the prediction of an average of 13 cars in the queue based on other locations. How many of those other locations are in a densely populated area like Union?
No, understood. They're in South Jersey. Those were the only ones that were open and operating at the time of data collection. I mean, densely populated compared to Union, I'd say the closest one would be Marlton, because we studied at a few, like I said, we studied at 4 locations. Marlton, Cherry Hill, Turnersville, and Glassboro, I believe, are the 4 locations. So Cherry Hill's got a decent population, and so does Marlton. I don't know if it's to the same standard as
Route
Union,
73 is comparable to Route 22 as well.
Yeah, so I would expect it to be generally similar. Maybe it's closer to the 15 vehicles in queue that Ben had mentioned earlier if we were talking about it based on dense population, but I wouldn't expect it during typical operation times to extend beyond the 30 that we can stack within the area.
Have there been any instances of any Raising Cane's locations anywhere in the country where you've exceeded the volume, the predicted volume, and you've had to modify the traffic flow in any way?
Not that I'm aware of. The only thing where it could get really close is during that honeymoon period. Those first couple months of the store opening is the only time that I could see it getting like that. But after that, it's pretty much standard operation that we see from our data collection.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Yes. Ms. Espinoza?
If you have 35 cars in the queue, how does the next person get out?
So what I would imagine, if we had 35 cars, like just in case that ever happens,
Just on a really, really busy day.
it just got really crazy. Okay,
22 tends to be that way.
sure.
Yeah.
What I would say is, at that point, we would obviously have people walking around and dictating where traffic would go into the drive-through and consolidating them within that way. But I would say if we had another 5 vehicles outside of this area, if you could see my mouse, they can kind of stack relative in this lane only, so it would keep that egress portion of the site still free so that you can exit and not, make the site more congested than it is.
So in that instant, that wouldn't be a 2-way. That would just be a 1-way.
Say that one more time?
In that instant, that would be a 1-way, not a 2-way.
It's pretty much already operating as a 1-way now.
But it is a 2-way.
It's striped as 2-way, but you would pretty much operate the site in a counterclockwise fashion. So I'm not even really sure if there is a reason that somebody would park in this area down here and make a left and go over to this way unless they wanted to use the EV charger. But for the most part, everybody's flowing in the eastbound direction.
Okay. But it is a possibility. I just want to get that clear.
Sure, yeah, if it happens, that's what I would imagine we'd do, is stack them on that curbside drive-through lane so that you at least have that ability to go around them and exit.
Got it. Thank you.
Mr. Cohen, did you have another question?
Yes, so along the lines of your last response, why contiguous to the main entrance to the restaurant would it be two ways? There shouldn't be any reason whatsoever for anybody to be moving in the westbound direction in front of those 6 parking spaces nearest the egress. It should be one way from the drive-through exits out of the property. I can't see any reason why anybody would need to be, why it would need to be two-way to the eastbound side of the crosswalk.
No, we agree. We can make that modification to show that both arrows face the eastbound direction to show it's a one-way flow. There's really not much of a reason for anybody to do that.
Mr. Frayne?
Sir, where would the snow be plowed? Where would you put the snow?
That might be
Next.
more. That might be more for
Okay.
Ben. Yeah.
I'll bring him back up.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Any other questions from the board? Just question on the single exit out, the egress.
Yes.
And initially, my first observation is that, oh, there's only one way out. But can you explain the thinking of why there isn't a egress that would lead to westbound 22, why that isn't designed here?
I'll tell you exactly why.
Okay.
So we met with NJDOT back in July 30th of last year. We had a pre-application meeting with them, and like I mentioned before, they're not really concerned about the traffic entering and exiting the site, more of the design of the existing location and how can we make it safer. So it was really in relation to, if you can see up at the top of the screen, this is Springfield Road on the westbound side. DOT, well today, I'll state this way. Today the driveways are roughly in this area here. DOT was very concerned about weaving from, like, exiting our site, crossing over the 2 or 3 lanes of traffic on Route 22 and try to get onto the Springfield Road. So in order to prevent that, we had it just be inbound only. We did look into considerations on how we can make it so that the driveway, we could have a driveway exiting onto westbound Route 22, but we couldn't get the design to work out, that we essentially had to ultimately stick to just an ingress only, because as you can see our site frontage, it's all on the eastern side of Springfield Road. So if we proposed any kind of egress, there's always that potential that people would cut over and use that, and that was DOT's biggest concern. So that's why there's only an ingress on the northern side of the property. And then on the southern side of the property was the same issue. Today, the driveways are egress over on the western side and ingress over on the eastern side. So we ended up flipping them so that the same thing couldn't happen. When you're exiting, you have no potential of weaving over a bunch of lanes of traffic to get onto Springfield Road. So that was ultimately the reason we ended up with this design, is because of that weaving and concern from the DOT.
Now, the follow-up is that once you make the exit onto eastbound, there is a left side U-turn.
There's a U-turn, yeah.
Just for the record, how far away is that from the exit from the property?
I can measure that really quick on my phone.
And you don't need to be precise to the inch, but
Aerial.
just yeah.
Top left PDF. Beautiful. Okay. Is it already scaled? I'll just estimate it then. It's pretty much like one site frontage over, so it's about 300 feet to the east, maybe 350.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
In the other direction, it's a little further down going that way, but the only reason you really wouldn't need that, because if you're traveling westbound, you can just enter the site directly from westbound 22.
Right, but if someone is interested in entering the restaurant and they miss the entrance,
Yeah, then they
they're
would
going to
have
have
to
to
go-
travel a
yeah.
considerable distance to be able to come back.
That's correct, yeah.
My other follow-up question is that I know we talked about the intensity of traffic on 22, and I know Mr. Cohan referenced sometimes the backing up on the westbound end. From your analysis, do you find that eastbound 22 can have that same intensity of backup compared to westbound, or is that less?
I found that they were both pretty comparable. It had a good amount of queuing, especially during the PM peak hour is when we noticed it the most. But basically the bottom line from our analysis is when you compare the future conditions with the site the way it is versus what we're proposing, the queues and vehicle delays would be generally comparable in both conditions.
Okay. Ms. Cowlett?
I'm looking at where the garbage would be taken out and how it would be I know that it was mentioned that the deliveries would be done before the store opened by an hour or two. Garbage, is that scheduled like that as well? Because if not, I can see that causing a problem, especially where the garbage cans are located and the exit.
That might be, Ben, if you may know that answer. Typical garbage delivery? Yeah, if you know.
So the garbage collection is not when the restaurant's closed. It can be, but it's usually when it's open, but it's during non-peak time. So it's the early morning hours, right, at the 9:30 to mid-afternoon. But it's something that they coordinate with the local hauler, and it's a very, call it a quick transaction as far as getting through there versus a loading operation where it's going to be sitting there for a little bit of time.
Okay. I guess the concern was when they would go in and what that queue could look like and how they would exit.
They do a pretty good job at scheduling those trash collection when you don't have peak hour times of that restaurant. They don't want the business to be interrupted either, just with impacts to getting into that drive-through lane.
Thank you.
Can you also touch about snow removal? Board member had a question.
What's the typical where it would be?
Did you want to just repeat your question about snow removal?
Yes, I did. Where would the snow, I'm sorry. Where would the snow removal go?
A lot for our landscape plantings. What we like to do, just also for car overhang, is we reset them back 2 to 3 feet behind the curb, so you have a little bit of room to just push the snow in your general parking areas.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben.
Any further questions from the board? Questions from the public? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other witnesses?
Witness,
One more?
our
Okay.
planner. You want to do signage now? We're good? Okay. Yeah, before I bring him up, there was a concern about signage that your board engineer raised.
Okay.
So we'll get through that first.
All right.
Yes, so I'm going to go back just to the elevations, just kind of talking through with some of the Keynes operation teams. I think kind of a concession, if okay with the board, is to eliminate those One Love channel letters that are above that canopy. That gets rid of really 2 variances because canopy signs are not permitted. So we've got the one architectural feature already into the building. Just getting rid of those channel letters is something we could come off the original proposal for, if that would be amendable to the board. So just throwing that out there. I know there's still deliberation on it, but.
Mr. Denave?
I apologize, I didn't hear everything you said. So the One Love sign over the canopy, you're willing to remove that?
That's correct.
Was that was the only one?
That's the original proposal. If we're looking to reduce an additional one, the next one that would go, though I have a dog glove, would be the red dog mural of Kane.
How about, I think that the one that's probably least useful would be the flaming sign. I just don't know that when you're in the queue and you're working around the building that would be something that would be necessary. Is that something, I don't know who we're looking at over here. But
We're going to do a quick sidebar.
oh yeah, no, it's all right. I just didn't know. I almost feel bad taking out the dog. Poor, it's kind of cute, you know?
From the Canes perspective, it's going to be One Love channel letters and then the dog if we had to pull one off. They like the drive-through flame only because it helps if someone's entering the site, particularly here on westbound 22, it's helping kind of define how the drive-through's circulating around. So as soon as that car gets in, it knows that the flow is coming kind of counterclockwise through there. So if we are, certainly the channel letters, if there's a need, from the board to take another sign, it would, Raising Cane's preference would be for the dog mural to go of Cane.
Thanks, Ben.
Sure.
I'll let the board decide on that.
So you wouldn't be able to see the flame from the road if you're driving down the highway. You don't, because of where it's located. You don't see it from 22.
Just bring the site plan up to show
'Cause
them
I think the concern
what you're
is
referring to.
when you're on 22 and you see all these signs, is it overkill? So I mean, and the
Yeah,
flame
so-
you don't see, so I don't know if that's so much of an issue.
Yeah, so your that drive-through flame would be on your westerly elevation. So it's where I'm hovering. It's in between your pay and pickup through here on that elevation. So from 22, it's really just demarcating that the drive-through is going in a counterclockwise manner as you're coming in off of 22. So you're not seeing it on 22. That principal facade from 22 is this top elevation here. Your Canes logo, we're going to remove the channel letters, and then our One Love, the 22 elevation is actually, where's our 22 elevation? Rear. Third one, yes. Your 22 elevation is your westbound 22 elevation is this third elevation. So all you have is the Canes logo as you're coming by.
And the one.
And the
big
one
number
architectural element, yes.
And then on the eastbound side, it would be.
Eastbound side is
would
where
be
I
that
was
one.
just talking. That's your top elevation here. This is what you would see. This is your principal elevation, but we're going to remove the channel letters. You would just have the Raising Cane's logo, and then at your main building entry point, which is right under the Cane's logo, is where they have the One Love mural, which is the social media sign and brings in a little bit of union onto it, and that's that painted element.
But you wouldn't be removing that one on that side, just on the other side. That where your cursor is right now.
We're removing the One
Just
Love
that, yeah,
channel
not the other
letters. Yes, this is kind of almost like a building element into the design of the facade.
No, not.
Okay, so I think with that, let me just quickly just ask the board if there's any further concerns after the two modifications. I think we're good.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
Last
Appreciate
witness.
it. Last but not least, we have Matt Flynn from John McDonough Associates to present planning testimony for this evening.
Where am I looking up?
Copious notes. Please raise your right hand. Please state your full name and spell it for the record.
Yeah, Matthew Flynn, F-L-Y-N-N.
Do you swear the testimony that you'll give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Mr. Flynn, will you please provide the board with the benefit of your qualifications and experience for the record?
Yes, education comes from Rutgers. I have my master's degree in planning and public policy, professional planner's license in the state, as well as my national licensure, which is the AICP license. Both are in good standing. I've testified before over 100 boards across the state, as well as the zoning board. However, I think this is my first time before the planning board. Here.
And your license is in good standing, correct?
That's correct.
Board stipulates.
You may proceed. Thank you.
Let me just see if I can.
Our planner presented a photo exhibit using drones for the surrounding area, so that's what he's pulling up in case anybody was wondering.
You didn't rename it, did you? I guess it didn't make its way on here. Oh, I'm in the wrong spot.
Technology is great, but sometimes it can get a little confusing.
When you have someone that knows how to use it. There you go. Thanks, Ben.
Good.
So let's call this Planning Exhibits for Raising Cane's Restaurants, which is a 4-page exhibit consisting of some drone photographs taken by my office earlier today, June 25th, 2025. These photographs accurately depict the subject property as well as the site surroundings. So as we heard, right now we're talking about a property that is almost 100% pervious. So here, I would say the difference between what we have here and all of that green that we just saw in our landscaping plan, our colorized site plan, I think the difference is pretty stark here. Again, you have a whole lot of pavement here, and we're replacing that with almost a 20% reduction in pervious surfaces. The other thing to note on page 1 here is that you have a building that is almost right on that side property line, whereas the proposed building, as we just saw in our site plan, is more centrally located on the subject property. Just going down to sheet 2 here, just now we're looking west. Again, we're bringing that building away from that side property line, more centrally located. We're actually proposing less impervious, less building coverage, less building height, so really an overall less massing than what we even have today. And then just looking south here, we're looking at the other side. Again, now we have that 0.2 foot setback condition existing on the right side of this image. Again, bringing that building closer to the center of the property. And then finally, just completing that rotation around the property. Now we're looking east. So if the board has any specific questions, I can come back to this exhibit at any time. So basically, the board has heard at this point the massing, the form, the overall circulation, how the property is going to be used. From the planning standpoint, we are talking about a permitted conditional use, so that does make the planning testimony pretty simple. The only condition that we have for this use would be that it is required to have frontage along Route 22, and of course, that's what we have here. So we do require some variance relief, just C variances, no D variances. I would remind the board that just because something is a variance doesn't necessarily mean that it's inappropriate. It does give the board their opportunity to judge whether it is appropriate given the specific property and the specific use that we're here requesting approval for this evening. So basically, I think we can lump these variances into basically 4 categories, one being the variances related to the building. We have a front setback for the principal building, front setback for the accessory, canopy projection, canopy width, accessory structure setback to principal. Again, when we talk about this specific property, we're moving the existing massing centrally located. Even though we do have that front setback variance, again, it's a better configuration than what we have today. We are requesting some relief for the parking lot and circulation regarding the parking setback from the property line, the driveway apron material width, and then the loading zone that we heard from our engineer about. And then what we've pretty much been talking about is signage. So we are requesting relief for a number of pole sign area, wall signs, as well as sign elevation. So really, all said, I think we can look to the C2 balancing test, which is basically we're looking at the benefits of the application, whether they outweigh any potential detriments. In order to look at the benefits, we look to the municipal land use law, which sets forth the purposes of zoning. Here, I think we can look to purpose A, promotion of the general welfare. The project overall, of course, is for a drive-through, which benefits people that might be driving during inclement weather, people driving with a car full of kids, people that might be feeling sick or have mobility issues. This is a land use that serves those sort of segments of the population. Reducing several non-conforming conditions, which I'll get into in a second. Substantial reduction in impervious and a substantial increase in landscaping. And then we heard we're reducing the number of driveways that are associated with this project. So all of that goes towards promotion of the general welfare in terms of safety and the overall benefits of the use itself. Purpose G is variety of uses in appropriate locations. Again, this is a conditional use. The only condition is that it's on Route 22, so it's a location-specific requirement, and we meet that, of course. Purpose I deals with desirable aesthetics. Here, again, I'll talk about the substantial new landscaping and the more centrally located building placement, substantially improving that side setback condition for better relationship with our neighbors. And then finally, purpose M is efficient land use. I would say we're substantially compliant from a bulk standpoint, and I'll get to that in a moment, but really this doesn't constitute overdevelopment. A lot of the relief that we're seeking is really design-oriented, not the overall massing or the actual development intensity of the property. So the flip side to that would be the negative criteria, no substantial detriment to the public or to the zone. So in terms of zone conformance, side setback, we have over 3 times the requirement, which is a vast improvement over the 0.2 feet that's existing. We need 20 feet, and we're proposing 65.9 feet. Rear setback, again, that's an existing non-conforming condition. There's 37 feet out there today. We're almost doubling that to 66 feet, whereas 50 feet is required. The big ones to me are building coverage. We're only proposing about 7% where we are allowed to go up to 30%. It's a reduction over the 12.8% existing, substantially under the overall building massing that you would be allowed here. Impervious coverage, 71.8% is proposed, and again, all the way up to 96.5% is what's out there today. So a substantial reduction in terms of the pervious paved surfaces on the property. And then I talked about building height, and again, we're compliant with a number of parking spaces. So just to touch on the specific relief that we're seeking, I talked about the fact that some of these relate to the actual building itself. Again, I think it's important to note that this is, of course, a property that has 2 front yards, so that does present somewhat of a hardship here. Even though we do need a front setback variance, we are, again, proposing a building that's relatively small and centrally located, so I think that this does meet the intent of the ordinance. And of course, we are eliminating existing non-conforming conditions related to the existing building. In terms of signage, I think I'll hit on wall signs first, and that includes all of those murals that we've been talking about. Basically, the ordinance allows you to have a primary sign on each facade as well as a secondary sign on each facade. And if you were to add up the total allowance for the entire building, you would be looking at up to 507 square feet for the entire building, and that includes both the primary and the secondary signs, whereas we're proposing 356 square feet. So about 150 square feet less from an overall building perspective. So I would say that in that regard, it's just really about the placement of those signs rather than the total signage area, so to speak. Our engineer noted the pole sign variances, and we talked about the fact that we would like to have one for each frontage, which we feel makes sense, especially considering some of the board members' comments regarding the difficulties of Route 22 and having that efficient and safe wayfinding that we need for a property like this. In terms of the pole signs, we also heard from the engineer that the area variance is very technical. It's not going to be noticeably over that requirement. It's less than 1 square foot over the requirement. And then finally, the variances related to the actual parking design. I think the board has asked some really good questions at this point regarding how that parking lot is actually going to function. And I don't think there's any outstanding issues at this point. We heard from our traffic expert regarding safety and efficiency, and I feel that all said, the parking and circulation is adequate for this use. So all said, I would say that this is an appropriate use of this space. Again, fast food with drive-through is specifically contemplated for properties on Route 22. This is a property with a somewhat unique shape. Of course, we do have 2 front yards, and there's a whole bunch of improvements over the existing conditions. So I do feel that this is an appropriate and beneficial project.
Thank you very much, Mr. Flynn. I have nothing further of this witness.
Questions from the board?
Quick question. So, DOT suggested to not have like an entrance and an exit on one of the sides.
I'm going to bring up my traffic engineer.
Oh, okay,
for
sorry.
that question.
I don't talk with DOT.
Sorry.
He's just a planner.
Your question was DOT specifically told us not to have exits?
Yes. Was that?
That's not exactly what they told us. Let me see if I can find the old plan. Here we go. They told us their biggest concern was weaving from our site directly onto Springfield Road. So, unfortunately, with the way our site frontage is, it's pretty much completely on the eastern side of Springfield Road. So if we were to provide any kind of exit on that north side, there would be that potential for weaving that DOT was concerned about, which is why we
Got
only
it.
proposed the
Because
ingress.
a lot of the businesses on 22, they have two ins and out. So
Understood,
you would,
yeah.
You know, that would cause an issue when they're coming around the roundabout to the other side. Most of the time, that's like backed up all the way to the other side of 22.
We did notice, but that was something we looked at in our analysis too. It wasn't anything that we saw would extensively start blocking like potential driveways along 22. It's just whatever would be standard, and then plus like whatever the 4 trips at maximum that we projected from our site.
Got it. Okay.
But yeah, ultimately that's the main reason why we don't have an egress on that northern side, and we ended up sticking with the southern portion of it.
Okay.
And just one follow-up question. Mr. Fahim, you're aware of the Dunkin' Donuts case, correct, when you have a permitted use?
I'm sorry, say that one more time?
You're aware of the Dunkin' Donuts case, correct, when you have a permitted use and
Yes.
to review off-site conditions? So this is consistent with that case?
It is, yes,
Thank you very much.
of course.
I guess for emergency vehicles, right? Because there is only one exit. If you were queued up, right, and there was an issue, and there's only one exit, and the issue is near the drive-through, when you do this, do you look at things like that?
Yeah, I would say Ben would have put together his plans show like a truck turning
Yeah,
exhibit or vehicle
that was
exhibit.
submitted, yeah.
And it should account for any kind of like oversteering of the truck to be able to make that maneuver onto the egress.
But I guess
portion.
timing-wise is the question more so. Not how they're going to do it, but how long it's going to take.
Oh, I mean, it's not really anything that we would
You wouldn't?
consider, yeah, in our analysis, because that's kind of like a very atypical situation where you have like a big emergency that requires emergency vehicles during the busiest point in the site. So we just want to make sure that the site can accommodate the vehicle maneuvering when it's on site like that. And then what we look at when we analyze a roadway network is to make sure that it doesn't degrade any vehicle delays along the traveling roadway on the state highway.
And just to follow up with that, you're not aware of any instances where that has been an issue with any of the
Not that I'm
current
aware
Raising
of.
Cane's locations?
Yeah, not that I'm aware of.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, any further questions from the board? For either, any of the witnesses? Okay, hearing none. Any further witnesses, or that was your last one?
That was my last witness.
Okay. Would you like to summarize or close?
I absolutely would. Thank you very much. I'll keep it brief because it's getting late. I'll just summarize real quickly. Raising Cane's proposes to demolish the existing building, which includes the former Union Diner as well as the 2-story masonry building, retail building, and is proposing the fast food restaurant with the 2-lane drive-through. Raising Cane's use will consist of a 1-story, 3,350 square foot restaurant building with 33 parking spaces, 98 seats. Let me just get that correct number: 66 indoor and 32 outdoor, with a patio, associated landscaping and signage, all as described, plus the enclosure for trash and storage, all as testified to by my engineer. Raising Cane's tract is located in the CC zone, which is known as the corridor commercial, where a fast food restaurant drive-through is a conditionally permitted use. And as your board engineer indicated, the applicant meets all the conditions of the conditional use standards for a permitted use of this type of use. Raising Cane's proposed restaurant represents an upgrade and modernization of the site, which said site is currently in an underutilized condition with a vacant storefront. You heard testimony from the engineer regarding site plan and overall design. He addressed your concerns. You also heard testimony traffic And finally, you heard testimony from our planner that the proposed upgrades represent a better overall aesthetic and site layout and is improving conditions overall on site. The applicant submits that there's no adverse visual impact to the site, and planner confirmed that this upgrade advances several purposes of zoning under the MLUL. And finally, we submit that the overall Raising Cane's proposed restaurant represents an upgrade and modernization and will add viability along Route 22. Weighing the evidence in support of the application and based on the proofs presented to the board this evening, we would respectfully request approval of the application and ask that the board grant approval for same as testified to this evening with the conditions as discussed during the testimony this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Comments from the board? Comments from the public?
Okay, so we're going to proceed with entertaining a motion to approve application 2026-03. I did note two conditions with regards to ensuring that there won't be, I know it was mentioned the trees on the eastern end, just making sure that there won't be either trees or objects that would obstruct signage or any identification of the neighboring property.
Correct.
And then the second conditions with regards to those two signages.
Correct.
Okay, so with that, can I get a motion to approve the application?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Cohan. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Miller. Roll call, please.
Mr. Alexander?
Yes.
Mr. Cohan?
Yes.
Ms. Espinoza? Mr. Frayne?
No.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Frazier?
Yes.
Committeewoman Terrell?
Yes.
Ms. Khan? Yes. Ms. Kalid?
No.
Chairman Lay?
Yes.
Thank you very much, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. You too. All right, we have one more new business item. I just want to do a check with the board here. Does anyone need a recess, or or everyone's fine to proceed? All right, I think we could proceed then. Can I call the representative for application 2026-04? Lehigh, 493 Lehigh Avenue, LLC.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for your time this evening. Trevor Endler from Steve Hale's office, Jafferbaum Wergaft, on behalf of 493 Lehigh Avenue, LLC. We are here for a major site plan at 493 Lehigh Avenue. There's an existing building there, and we're here to slightly alter the front zone of the property to increase parking for the business itself. While we're increasing parking, there is no increase in impervious coverage. All of the paving material will be pervious pavers, so it makes no effect on stormwater or any of those items. And it creates 3 new C variances. It creates a variance where 10 feet is required for any parking space from the primary building. This application proposes 0 feet. There's additionally, the parking must be 10 feet from the street. This proposal is about 5 feet, and parking must be at least 10 feet from the property lines, and it is 0 feet. There are also 3 existing nonconformings that are not being changed by this application. The zone requires 80,000 square feet, whereas the property is 39,445 square feet. The lot depth is required to be 400 feet, whereas the lot exists with an average of 119.05 feet. And the lot width is required to be 200 feet, whereas the lot currently exists with a width of 175.1 feet. Additionally, there's a request for a design waiver for the parking dimensions. The parking dimensions, I believe, are required to be 20 feet, whereas according to this proposal, it would only be 18 feet deep. With that, I would like to bring up the applicant, Matthew Savino. Other side.
Okay. Raise your right hand. You swear the testimony you'll give today to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Please state and spell your name for the record.
My name is Matthew Savino, S-A-V-I-N-O. Okay. I will make this, I don't have that much to talk about like the other presentation, but I work in a family business. My dad and my uncle, they own a fire protection business. We've been at this site for since 1997, so we've been there for a long time, and we want to grow. So let me pull up a site view, but you know, we're running out of places to park, and you know, we need to grow our business, and we're kind of at max capacity with parking spots. So we would like to propose to have a parking lot expansion. I have some aerial photos I'll show you guys, but we're going to have this permeable parking lot that will have good drainage, and then on top of that, you know, there's these neighbors across the street. They're residential neighbors, so we want to have consideration for the aesthetics of the neighborhood. So we are proposing, and we'd like to put up like a row of evergreen trees right here. That would be like right here on the side of the parking lot. And you know, we created these drawings. We have, you know, 4 full-time professional engineers. They created these drawings, and we use, like, you know, our previous land survey to create these drawings. And yeah, we really would, you know, we need to grow, and I think having more people will help us grow. So I could show you guys some of the aerial photos. So,
Mr. Savino, before you show aerial, can you just explain a little more about your business? And you said obviously you've been in the area since 1997. Could you explain your interactions with the community?
Sure, yeah. So we do fire protection and life safety systems. My dad opened up the business in 1984 in Roselle Park, and we have a great relationship with Union. Earlier this year, we donated, the fire department came to our shop and asked us to make this like assembly that could test fire hoses, and they asked us, you know, if we could make it for them, and they said that they'd be willing to pay, but we donated it, and we have a lot of customers in Union. So yeah, we do fire protection, we do fire alarms, just like, you know, the smoke detectors in the ceiling. We do fire sprinklers, and you know, we protect assets and lives, and you know, we're very passionate about our business, and it is family owned and operated. I work in there. I work with my father every day and my brother. So yeah, we're just trying to grow the business. What else you think it should get?
For right now, we're good. If you could pull up the aerial. The aerial photo will mark as A1. It was not provided previously.
Okay, so here are some pictures, I believe. Let's see.
Can I just ask a quick question? Do you do commercial and, you know, personal, or is it just commercial that you support?
Yeah, we could do residential. We
Yeah.
try and stay out of it. We like to stay just commercial businesses.
Okay.
We do protect the train station here in Union. They're one of our customers, NJ Transit. Okay. Let's see. So let's pull up some pictures here. Okay, so here, this is a screenshot off my iPhone. This was the clearest picture that I could get. So this area right here, this is our site. This is a little bit older of a picture, I believe. Actually, no, this is pretty up to date. So these are our work trucks here. They usually, you know, they leave in the beginning of the day, but these are our, you know, employee vehicles who they come and park. And you know, this green area, this is the lawn. You know, we'd like to. This is the area where we want to make the new parking lot. There's a, you know, little gist right there. You know, we could go through another picture real quick. Okay. This is just an entrance to the new parking lot. It's 16 feet wide, so it would provide, I think, pretty good clear access to the building in case we needed like emergency vehicles, like a fire truck, need to get through. A lot of space there.
Just for clarification on that one.
Yeah.
When you say an entrance to the parking lot,
Yes.
do you mean an entrance to the parking lot from the street or
Oh,
from the
no.
other side of your property?
That is from, yeah, so, sorry, I'm all over the place. Oh, that's the letter. So that entrance will be, let's pull it up. So this entrance right here is 16 feet wide. And this is the existing parking lot. We're not going to create any new entrances to the street or get rid of or destroy the curb. So I think we're going to net 10 parking spots. And we have another office in Kenilworth, so we do have people from the Kenilworth office. They like to visit the Union office, and they kind of have nowhere to park. We don't want to park in the residential area. So okay, right? All right.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see what else I have
Hey,
here.
Trevor, if you don't mind me going through a few things. I don't
Yes.
mean to interrupt, but
Of course.
for the benefit of the board, and I know that you've been working with the engineering department trying to get these plans together, and we
Yeah.
appreciate trying to do it on a bit of a budget. So I just want to go through a few things for the board, benefit of the board to put on the record, right? You're going to be taking out grass, all right, and you're going to be putting in these pervious pavers. The
Yes.
pervious pavers essentially act as an or continue to be a pervious surface. So even though you're taking up the grass, there's going to be no need for stormwater retention or anything like that, because the way these are placed down, they're placed on a bed of stone. The pavers themselves will allow water to flow through them and into that stone, and that creates the storage that would normally be instead of a seepage pit or some kind of a tank in there. So
Correct.
you are still going to be maintaining that stormwater, right?
Correct. Yeah, there's no change to the existing stormwater management or stormwater flow from the site as it is currently today, and as a result of this proposed change.
Okay. I appreciate the fact that you want to put up some landscaping on the front of that building. There is a requirement, you can't put that landscaping within the right-of-way of Lehigh Avenue. Okay, so we could work closely with you to make sure that landscaping stays on your property and creates a bit of a buffer for your neighbors. But we have to be careful that in that section between where the cars are pulling in and backing out,
Yes.
that we put the right vegetation there so it doesn't go out into the street, number one. And number two, it doesn't grow into your parking lot, so you can't really pull a car in. You'll be backing into your building.
Yeah, we were planning on putting arborvitaes. They're like tall, skinny evergreen trees that are kind of contained. And we chose these plants because they kind of don't get out of hand. But yeah.
Yep. So we'll make sure it's the right type of arborvitae to fit in that space.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll work with your office and the town to make sure that we're planting everything on our own property and make sure that none of the plantings are anything that the town doesn't approve of.
So traditionally, we'd require some kind of a survey indicating that. I mean, I think what we need to do is kind of document this after the fact. If the board was willing to accept this, we'll be able to somehow
Yeah, of course, yeah.
verify, some kind of an as-built. Again, I'm not looking to spend his money, but I want to make sure that we can get enough here.
Yeah, no, we can provide additional survey details and things of that nature.
A question about your operation. Is this going to be just for your parking? Or do you get people coming in from out of, you get walk-in? Are there any members of the public that are going to be parking here?
Rarely. This is going to be for employee parking. It's a two-story building. We have a lot of office space that we like to fill up. So no, this is just going to be for employees only.
And this is only for your use? You don't have any other uses in this building? So
No,
it's,
this is just for us.
Okay.
This is just so we could put more employees in the building.
So if I can make a suggestion that you just do parking, that front yard parking is for employees only?
Yes.
All right, so that we don't have any issue with anybody backing into your building, because it is tight. I mean, you have a 26-foot area in there, and then, your typical backup is 24, but you got a hard stop with that building, so you don't have a lot of wiggle room. So and some of those are very challenged spots.
Okay.
So
yeah.
you want to make sure that they're your vehicles and that no one else is going to be in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can agree to that.
I guess I just want to make sure we had somebody, you guys can continue, I'm sorry, I just want to put a few things on the record from the stormwater perspective, impervious coverage, and then making sure that these parking spaces were not really public use parking spaces.
Yeah, no, it'll just be employees. This shop is actually kind of like a manufacturing shop too. We make a lot of stuff here too. But yeah, there's no public coming in here. It'll be like the very rare occasional, like maybe once a month, once every 2 months, like vendor or something, coming to visit. That's pretty much it. Okay, let's see what else. I did do the 200-foot list. I have.
Diana, do you agree that notice was sufficient?
All the paperwork was in order.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah, I did the certified mail. I ran a Star Ledger ad.
You're good.
Okay, ran the Star Ledger ad. I can pull up some more pictures. Just the street. Let's see what we got here. This is an old picture off Google. This is what the street looks like. We're not gonna touch this fire department connection or this utility line. That's gonna be kind of just, we're not gonna mess with that. But this is the front of the building right here. This is where we want to add parking. And then the entrance is gonna be like right here. And then have a row of little trees to make it more aesthetically pleasing for the neighbors, right along here. Tiny little trees. Let's see what else. Yeah, here's another picture. It's funny. I was on Google, and this is literally my uncle and my dad. So I was shocked to see that. This is my uncle and my dad. Am I missing anything?
No, the only other question I have for you at this point is, you've received the June 15th Collier's review letter?
Yes.
And do you have any issues with complying with everything in that letter?
Yeah, we're going to have a handicap parking spot too. That's going to be also accessible for a van. What else am I missing?
No, as long as you generally, there's nothing in here that we haven't touched on, just making sure there's nothing generally that, if there's something in here that we didn't touch on that they have an issue with, we can make sure that we're complying with it, that's all.
Okay. So yeah, here's the plans. I think that's my conclusion. We just need some room to grow.
So I have no further questions of this witness. If the board has any questions.
Questions from the board?
Yes, I have a question. Thank you for the clarification, Mr. Denavi. But I know there are some flooding issues on Lehigh. Are there any issues on your property currently?
I don't think we've ever experienced flooding before. No, we've never had it. And we do have some drains too in our main parking lot. We do have drains that I think that go to the train tracks or something. But to my experience, we've never had a flooding issue before.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes, thank you. Could you go to the photograph that shows the existing parking lot and the lawn?
Yes. Do you want the overview picture or from
Yes,
the street?
please.
Okay.
So you've got a small sidewalk from the lot to the front entrance.
Yes.
That will remain.
This sidewalk right here?
Yeah.
No, that's going to go.
No, not the one down from to Lehigh Avenue, along the
Okay.
front of the building to the main parking lot on the left.
Up against the top of the building.
Yeah, that's going to remain.
And that's where the entrance driveway, if you will be for access into the new space.
Yeah. And
Is there sufficient turnaround? Have you done any kind of an analysis with a traffic engineer, whatever, to determine that there's plenty of turnaround space to get into and out of all those spaces and to be able to make egress back into the main driveway?
Yeah, there's enough room to do K-turns in there, and the entrance is 16 feet wide, and like we were kind of basing it off of like a fire truck. A typical fire truck is like 8 to 10 feet wide. So there should be enough room, and it'll just be like our employees in the space who'll kind of learn the area. They'll be very careful. It won't be public, but moving in and out won't be a problem. There's enough space. We discussed it, and we did our measurements with a typical car size, even like a work truck too.
Right, thank you. Mr. Chairman, through you to the engineer, I didn't see any information from the fire department. Did you submit anything for the fire department in terms of their review of access to the building with the new lot?
I don't think the access is going to change at all. No, I didn't submit anything.
Yeah, nothing additionally was submitted to the fire. It's just the typical submitted to the board, and the fire chief can review and submit comments, but we didn't receive any comments.
I think it actually might even be more accessible. They'll be able to put a fire truck right in front of the building.
The FDC is not being moved.
No, we're not touching that. That's our business. Yeah, we're not going to touch this there's a little utility corner here. I'm going to pull up the drawings again. We're going to leave that untouched. Yeah.
Will you agree to
we-
a condition that if you need to protect that with bollards or something else to make sure that nobody backs into that fire connection?
Yeah, of course.
You'll put that in there?
Definitely.
Any further questions from the board? Just had one quick question. On the bottom right of the screen here, you show an example of the pervious paver. My question is it that exact style, or maybe another way I would phrase my question is that, does that style permit the ability for clear striping of the parking spaces to be identified so that people are parking within each space compliantly?
So your question is this the exact stone we'll be using?
Yes.
Yes, we are. This is actually the picture that we took from the book that we'll be using, and then I believe we're just going to be painting right on top of these these stone pavers.
So that each space is identifiable.
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, we'll be painting on top of it, and then we'll have crushed stone. This is crushed stone and stuff, so they'll have proper drainage.
Two questions.
Yeah.
How many cars will fit in the new paved area?
We're gonna net about 10 more spots.
Okay, so the
currently has
entrance-
space for 13. There's 13 spaces shown on this. So
13 on the
13
parking lot on the side?
in the new design, it's 13 spaces.
Okay.
But because of the way it's being designed, there's a loss of 2 to 3 parking spaces out of what is currently existing. So it's a net of about 10, but it's 13 parking spaces are shown on this plan.
So if you have all those cars parked in the front, how do you get to the entrance?
Oh, the entrance is like our front door is right here.
Mhm.
So it's clear.
So there is no walkway anymore.
No, we'll keep the walkway, but it's just going to be pretty much an open paved area, right? This will be open. Like this is the main building. We'll have the front door right here, and
But it wouldn't be open because there's people parked there.
no one's going to be parked there.
Oh, got
This
it.
is
Okay, okay.
The front where my cursor is where the front door is going to be.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
What's wrong?
No. She has.
Okay.
So, Trevor.
Okay, got it.
If there's a need, if field conditions dictate that we've got to move this away from the building a little bit, just to give you between the walkway and the driveway there, just to give it a little bit of safety, are you okay putting a fence in instead of shrubs in the front?
Absolutely. We were doing shrubs just because I think it's the nicest thing for the neighbors across the street. I think I have another picture. Yeah, their homes across the street, and they have made some complaints to us in the past to clean up the yard, and we have cleaned it up, and we have there's a fence right here. We did a screening and stuff, so we want to be as considerate as possible to our neighbors. But we could definitely do a chain link fence with like some screening in there too. we just want to make the place nice for people.
Yeah, I think that maybe a combination where you have some lower lying tighter shrubs, because I am concerned that either you're going to be pushing out into the street.
Okay.
Or, into the town's property for sure.
Totally.
All right, I'm looking at your neighbor's fence next door, and that,
Yeah.
I wouldn't come up with that style. Do you have that picture that shows their fence?
Yeah. The other picture I had? Yeah, I'll pull that up again.
Mr. Denave, just for my clarification, you're talking about putting a fence along Lehigh Avenue, not near the building, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's see. Okay, so that's an old picture, but there's a good example there. I think there's a better one. Let's see. Nope. That's the 16 feet entrance. It's my dad and uncle. Hold on. Sorry. Okay, yeah. So here's a neighbor on
right.
looking down.
So I mean, it looks like there's fences up and down the road, right? You wouldn't be allowed to you wouldn't be able to put a fence any closer. That's probably the property line. So if you see that setback between the curbing and where the fence is there, you'd be kind of bound by that as well. You'd have to be set back with that fencing and any shrubbery.
Okay.
Right? The rest of it. That rest of that area is actually owned by the town.
Yeah.
It's part of the town's right-of-way, right? And put shrubs in there that you might compromise sight distance pulling in and out.
Definitely.
So I think that if the board chooses to approve this, we're going to have to make sure, it's a little tight in here, we're going to have to make sure that you may need to substitute and put a fence in.
Yeah.
So you don't encroach on the town's property.
Definitely. I think a fence would probably be even easier. Yeah, I mean that's an adjustment.
I mean, I want to give flexibility in the event that you have a little extra room. Just that sketch makes it look really tight, and I'm concerned about opening doors and, the access and hitting the building. So if we need to pull it away a little bit, that may necessitate us putting a fence up.
Yeah.
Or you putting a fence up.
Do we need a type of screening? You think that would be preferred from you guys? Do we need a fence? Do we need screening of this parking lot? I mean, I think we're just doing this to be considerate of the neighbors. Yeah.
I personally, I like the idea of you being considerate to the neighbors.
Okay.
I don't think that it needs to be screened.
Okay. I think we're going to try our best.
Because I think your neighbor to the left is not screened.
Yeah.
But I think that having some kind of a barrier.
Totally.
So that nobody pulls in, there's some orderly movements and nobody pulls straight ahead onto the road.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Definitely.
Just for clarification, are you suggesting they put a fence and then shrubbery in front of the fence?
If there was shrubbery in front, it would have to be very low-lying shrubbery,
Okay.
So I think the fence makes sense as a barrier. But
I don't, I like that you're concerned about the neighbors, right? So I don't know that a fence is, because to me, this fence is not.
Yeah, that's an ugly
aesthetically
fence.
pleasing.
But this is the
fence
neighbor's
doesn't look
fence. We wouldn't choose something like this.
And so, I don't know, I mean, maybe the option is to put nothing.
We could do like a little wood fence too, a little white picket wooden fence. It doesn't have to be an ugly chain link fence. So I think a fence. I think the neighbors across the street would appreciate that. We can make it aesthetically pleasing, and we really want to try for that.
Just for clarification, we are looking to screen the front. It's our preference that it be vegetation, but
Yeah.
if based on review with Colliers and the town, it's determined that the vegetation does not work, we'll do a fence. We're going to do something to try to make it screened, but also look presentable, since it is a residential neighborhood directly across the street.
Okay, as long as there's options. So.
Yeah. The hope is to put some sort of arborvitaes or something along those lines along Lehigh Avenue to screen it and make it look nice, but if it's not possible.
Okay.
Council, if I may, there's been at least one question that specifically as to the ability to make turns in the proposed parking. I believe there was another question about some of the lines and how they're drawn. Do you intend to have an engineer testify to that?
Not today. If that's requested, we can come back and bring an engineer along. But currently we don't have an engineer on the project.
And would you agree that the applicant hasn't given any qualifications?
Correct. The applicant
of an engineer?
here is not an engineer. Although, Mr. Savino, correct me if I'm wrong, you do have engineers that work at the company that designed these. They're just not here today.
Yeah, and they're mechanical engineers. So, but yes, we have 4 PEs.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you have any further questions from the board?
I guess I have a question. So you will put something in front in order to designate the difference between, I guess, what would be a sidewalk, that
Yeah.
gap, right, and something else.
Yeah.
And your property.
Just for clarification, are you talking about on Lehigh Avenue or are you talking
On
against the
Lehigh.
building? Okay. There's
On
not
Lehigh.
currently a sidewalk.
No, but I'm calling it that
Oh, yeah,
gap.
yeah,
where
we're
it would be
100% not
city
gonna encroach on the
property.
right of way. Correct,
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. So after that space. So what we're looking for here, that kind of is there. Okay, so where you have the arborvitae's there, is that taking that space into consideration before that on Lehigh?
This sketch is not to scale, so yes, it's being considered, but it's not shown to scale on these plans.
So it would
we'll
look
make
like
sure-
what?
It looks a little tight on these plans because of
Okay.
it not being drawn to scale, but obviously we're not going to encroach on the town's right of way. We'll make sure that if we have to adjust the way it's scaled, that we can represent a new one for you if needed to show more of scale, so you can get a better sort of visual picture of what it will look like. But yeah, there's no intention to encroach on the town's right of way on Lehigh Avenue.
And there are,
You can proceed
Oh,
with your
sorry.
question.
I guess there are other things other than, there's the arborvitae's, there's a fence, but there are other things that could go there as well that could be more visually appealing and considered to the neighbors.
For the screening purposes?
Okay, hold on.
You're talking for screening purposes on Lehigh, correct?
Yeah, there could be,
They're like the ones that you see at Target, like the big cement.
ball, like the red balls so the cars don't go through.
Yeah, that divides.
Oh.
Because you could make them, no, but you can make them smaller. If you've seen, they have the long ones as well. So instead of a fence, you could put that. But what I'm saying is, it doesn't have, it has to be visually appealing when the plans come back, if they come back. Put pines or something. But, yeah.
Okay. Any further questions from the board? Questions from the public? Counsel, I assume that was your only witness?
Yeah, that's my only witness.
Okay. All right. We're now comments from the board, which I do have a comment. So first, thank you for your presentation. Thank you for your time tonight. I think in a high-level sense, we're almost there. I think what will basically tighten this up is just making sure that I think this board will probably feel much more comfortable, and once we get engineer testimony, expert testimony on this, just coming back with just these details fleshed out. I think there's still a lot of open-ended suggestions and ideas, fencing, shrubs, striping, whatever. So I think just out of caution, just to make sure that we do tighten up the details, that maybe we carry this over to the next meeting, have an engineer come forth, do a brief presentation, and then I'm sure a lot of the questions will be addressed very quickly, and then we could just get to a vote.
Yeah, for sure.
Is that fine?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can if you wouldn't mind carrying us to the next hearing without further notice.
Again,
we
I
appreciate
think conceptually we're almost there.
Yeah,
It's
no,
just the
totally,
details.
totally
Yeah.
understood.
Yeah.
And just for when we come back with new designs, is it the board's preference that the screening be some sort of vegetation, or would you rather it be bollards or a fence, or do what we think makes the most sense and get your feedback?
I think first go through Vince and the engineer.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, engineering department. Yeah.
Yeah, and then whoever you decide who's going to come, have him give me a call ahead of time
Yeah, of
before he
course.
does any kind of formal, because I think we need to work off of more formal survey.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's not a problem at all.
Wonderful. Thank you. Can I get a motion to carry this application to the next meeting without further notice?
July 23rd is the meeting.
July 23rd. Moved by Ms. Callett. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Mr. Alexander. Roll call, please.
Okay, I'm sorry, could you repeat who moved in second? I didn't get that.
Ms. Callett moved, and then seconded by Mr. Alexander.
Who second?
Mr. Alexander.
Oh, Mr. Alexander, thank you. Sorry. Okay. Mr. Alexander?
Yes.
Mr. Cohan?
Yes.
Ms. Espinoza?
Yes.
Mr. Frame?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Frazier?
Yes.
Committeewoman Terrell?
Yes.
Ms. Khan? Ms. Khan, did she say yes? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, I apologize. Ms. Caleb? Chairman Lay?
Yes. Thank you, and we'll see you again next month.
Yeah,
and I'm sure we'll get to a
thank you for
very
your
quick
time.
conclusion.
Thank you. I appreciate
Thank you for
your
your
time.
time. Yes. All right. With no further new business, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Cohen, seconded. Seconded by Ms. Callett. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned. Have a good night.